What secrets lie within the virtual world that Quinn has become so enthralled with? Will he be able to uncover the truth behind the mysterious game, or will he become its next victim? As Quinn continues to navigate the treacherous landscape of the VR game, what dangers and challenges await him?
Nate continued to observe Quinn and his fighting style, and wondered just why he didn't fight the same as when he fought against him. Quinn repeatedly went into match after match, and would only go up against level 1s. It was clear to Nate that he had purposely set the system up this way. Now some players would do this, if they perhaps were trying out something new, but from watching Quinn, all he could see was Quinn doing the same thing over and over. He would enter into a game, and then immediately dash in either using a barrage of the red line attacks of his, or a flurry of punches, not caring whether he got hurt or not. It was clear he was beating them with pure strength and trying to win the matches as quickly as possible. Unknown to Nate, though, Quinn was purposely doing this. He didn't have much time left between now and when he was to go out onto his portal training, so the only thing Quinn could do was grind a few levels to get stronger using the system. Finally, 30 minutes had passed, and Quinn himself was growing tired of repeating the same thing over and over again. The only thing that kept him going was seeing his experience go up little by little. That's when Quinn noticed that he had a spectator. Nate, who was sitting in the seats, gave a wave back. "Oh, it's him. I wonder what he's doing here." Then a thought came to Quinn's mind. The fact that Nate was watching gave him the chance to ask him something. He then went on to the game system and sent out a party invite to Nate. At first, Nate was just planning to spectate and watch Quinn play a few games. He wanted to study Quinn a bit more before asking him to another duel, but when he saw the party invite, he was quite surprised. The game only allowed for one-on-one battles, so the party invite feature was only really used between teammates for practicing, or if they wanted to chat and were far away. In the end, Nate was too curious and wanted to know what Quinn wanted, and decided to accept. The arena ground disappeared, and now Nate and Quinn were in a single white room once again. "Hey, how are you doing? I hope you're not planning some type of revenge, are you?" Nate said as he proceeded cautiously towards Quinn. "No, actually, I wanted to ask you something. The person who I fought with before, your friend, I wanted to know more about his cape and where he had received it from." "Oh, Sam's cape. That's why you wanted to talk to me." Nate then looked at Quinn standing in front of him. In his hands he wore his gauntlets. That's when Nate suddenly realized something. The gauntlets that Quinn was using looked horrible. They must have been only at the basic tier. "Wait a minute, are you a first year?" Nate said. Yeah. I will be going on my first portal outing. I thought if you could tell me what type of beast you got it from, I would be able to look for it." Nate was suddenly a little surprised. He went back and thought about how Quinn was able to damage his solid body, even though no one had done such a feat before. He was sure the person would have been at least a second year. "Let me give you a piece of advice then. On your first outing, they always use the green portals. You have the chance of going to one of 3 places: Kaladi, Almpin, and Bartney. Out of these 3 planets, you want to go to Kaladi. There in the desert, there's a winged creature. I can't remember the name of the winged creature, but there aren't many in the desert, so I'm sure if you see one, that will be it. That beast core is what we made the cape out of." "Wait, did you say a desert?" Quinn asked. "Yeah, what's wrong with that?" Usually the word desert meant the place came with heat. The idea of having to journey through that, Quinn was starting to get tired just thinking about it. "Don't worry. Thank you so much for the information. You've been a big help. I'm going to play a few more games now before my time is up." "Oh, sure, go ahead. Do you mind if I watch?" Nate asked. Quinn thought about it for a while. If he didn't want to let Nate watch, all he had to do was block him or delete him from his friends list. But at the same time, Quinn felt like there was no problem. He was just fighting people. It wasn't like he was doing anything that suggested he was a vampire, and it was likely that Nate wasn't even from the same school as him. "Sure, go ahead." Quinn only had 20 minutes left inside the machine, and using his remaining time, Quinn chose to use the quick match function on the game, matching him with random power levels who chose the same option. This half of his session would be used to practice his fighting skills. In the remaining 20 minutes, Quinn was able to have 2 more games. His first match, he was against a level 4 user who had a transformation ability. His body was made of a rubber-like material, and he was able to stretch it as far as he liked. Quinn struggled against this opponent. The fighting style of the rubber man was strange, and when Quinn wasn't expecting it, he would be hit at an incredible speed. In the end, Quinn managed to get a few blood swipes in and hurt the man, but still ended up losing. The next match there was much more success, as he was matched up against a level 2 user who had a hardening skill similar to Nate, only weaker. He had an easier time dealing with this opponent, as his blood swipe dealt damage as well as his regular attacks. In the end, though, Quinn decided to take the match just as seriously as the others, and ended up finishing it with a hammer strike. 195 of 800. With that, Quinn's time in the game was up, and he had to leave. Nate, after watching Quinn for the whole time, had a strange thought lingering on his mind. Just what was Quinn's ability? After their battle, Nate had decided to check out the ability list to see if there was anything similar, and he could find no such thing. The other thing was, it seemed like all Quinn could do was shoot out red lines, which would suggest either the ability he had at the moment was incredibly weak, or he was currently at a low level. What Quinn didn't realize, though, was that all the opponents he had faced that day were thinking the same thing as Nate. They were wondering just what ability Quinn had. The hardening user Quinn had just fought was so frustrated with his loss, he decided to go onto the online forums and make a post. He shared a video of the match between himself and Quinn titled, "What ability is this? Is he a hacker?" The online forum had started to gain some traction with users who had fought against Quinn. They started to post comments just below about the video. "Yeah, I fought against him too, and he used those red lines on me. I lost in an instant. Is there really an ability like that in the game? It looks like Wind Slash, but why are the lines red?" Of course, even though the post had gained some traction, there weren't many. After all, things like this were posted on a daily occurrence, and usually it was from some people who couldn't accept a loss, thinking the other person must be hacking. But those who did watch the video started to ping the creators asking if what was seen in the video was real. Of course, one of the admin staff for the game came along and checked the video, but this person wasn't any ordinary admin staff. It was a student at the school named Logan Green. Logan himself wasn't ordinary, for he was the son of the creator of the game, and not only that, but was one of the head coders as well. He often visited the forum to check for bugs, and if there were any, he would try to fix them while still attending school. Then suddenly late at night that day, he noticed that post had started to gain traction. Usually he wouldn't have bothered with these things, but the staff were getting tagged in the post more than usual. After watching the video, suddenly his attention had been caught. Logan immediately could tell that the video was real. He searched up the 2 user IDs that were in the game and then decided to look at the match information. After searching them up, he noticed that the player that was being questioned in the video had selected no ability. No, it couldn't be. Did he really manage to hack the system? Logan then began to dig in deep into the match and checked everything about it. He checked the log of the game and everything that had been written down as the match went on, but there wasn't a single thing he could find that was wrong. Logan actually felt relieved. The game so far had been successful, not only because of how it was able to accurately replicate abilities, but also because the game had yet to be hacked. After finding out this information, Logan had no choice but to think it had something to do with his ability. Although Original's abilities weren't able to be copied into the game, this was the only answer he could think of. But one question remained, and that was just who was the user behind ID Bloody Volver. It was company policy to not keep records of any of the users in the game. The data was scrambled so not even he could get access to it. But that wouldn't stop Logan. The next day, combat classes had resumed back to normal. The group were told to continue training independently, and if they wished to spar with a partner, they could politely ask. Leo would go around giving tips to the students when he could. In the afternoon, after classes were done, Quinn would head to the VR room to continue his daily routine. He continued facing low-level ones and used the second half to train. 275 of 800. But the more people Quinn played against, the more traction the original forum post was getting, and all of this was unknown to Quinn. He didn't even know there was an online forum for the game. Quinn had never had any of these things in the past. He had access to the TV and internet, but didn't really know much about games. It was only thanks to Vorden showing him everything he knew what to do. Another day had passed, and Quinn repeated the process. 440 of 800. Not only was Quinn quickly gaining EXP, but he also felt like he was getting a hang of his abilities more. He knew when the time was right to use Flash Step and also learned how to combine his two skills so he would be able to disappear and reappear while using Hammer Strike. In 2 days, Quinn felt like he would be ready. Inside the second year's office, a group of first years had been called into the General Duke's office. "I've made sure that the room will be empty for you tomorrow. Make sure you do as I asked. I need you to get rid of them," Duke said. "Yes, sir, we promise." "Good," Duke replied as he threw over a couple of beast crystals as well as a skill book. "You should be able to progress to level 4 with that skill. Carry on working hard and there will be more." The next day after combat classes had ended, Peter had messaged for Vorden and Quinn to come to the training room on the east side. This room was usually off-limits to students, since it was also used as a room to store portals. But after reading the contents of the message, both Quinn and Vorden had rushed over. The message simply said that Peter needed their help. While heading over to the room, Vorden and Quinn had bumped into each other. "Did you get Peter's message?" Quinn asked. "Yeah, that's why I'm here. I knew those friends of his were bad news," Vorden said. "Quinn, you stay behind. I can deal with this myself." "No way. He's my friend too. I'm going to kick those guys' asses if it's the last thing I do." Vorden could see he was unable to convince Quinn, so the two of them continued together and had finally arrived inside the training center. The room was large and there were several large metallic objects with an oval shape in the middle. Each one of them had a glowing circle in the middle, shining with a different color. These were the portals that took them to another world. There were 9 machines out in total, 3 of each color, and for a moment, it felt like they were unable to take their eyes off the things. When they had entered the room, they could see that Peter was lying on the ground, badly hurt. He laid on the ground just in front of one of the teleporters, and it looked like he couldn't move. Quinn and Vorden looked around the room, but were unable to notice anyone. They both then rushed over to his side. He had bruise marks all over him, and he scuffed up pretty bad with scratches all over. "What happened to you? Was it those first-year students?" Vorden shouted. "Yeah, they got me pretty bad. They went out for just a moment. I don't think they're going to come back." "All right, let us pick you up," Vorden said, as he lifted Peter's hand over his shoulder. As the two of them picked up Peter, Quinn had a strange feeling. As he looked at Peter closer, he noticed that even though his clothes were badly torn, he didn't look to be in such bad a shape that he shouldn't have been able to walk. Even the bruises didn't look normal, almost as if they were drawn on. "Inspect. Peter Chuck, HP 8 of 8. Vorden, let go of him. It's a trap," Quinn shouted. But before Vorden could even realize what was happening, Peter had broken free and immediately pushed Quinn as hard as he could. The push wasn't strong, and it didn't hurt Quinn, but it didn't need to be, because that wasn't Peter's aim. That one little push had managed to push Quinn just far enough back to the point where he had entered the portal. "What have you done?" Vorden shouted. The color of the portal was red.
As Quinn is pulled into the mysterious red portal, his fate hangs precariously in the balance. Will he be able to survive the unknown dangers that lie ahead, or will he succumb to the sinister forces that are driving the game? What secrets will be revealed about the game's true intentions, and how will Vorden react to Quinn's disappearance?
Subscribe to the Pocket FM Fantasy YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notifications. Check out our channel for more exciting shows.